Okay, well, it should be good to go. All right. Did you want to say anything, Tanya, or shall I just kick us off?
I'm leaving it up to you, Emma.
Sure. No worries. All right. Well, I'll just kick it off then. Kia ora, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Please make sure your mic is muted so we can, get a smooth run through today. There will be time in the middle for questions. Tanya's going to take those in the chat. So my name is Emma. I'm here today to talk to you about assistive technology. I am the Assistive Technology Advisor at Unitec as part of the Access for Success Disability Service here. So I work with advising students on technology and students that are registered with us. So that includes students that might have dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, autism, and any kind of thing that you might classify as a disability. So that's who I am. Today I'm going to talk to you about the text-to-speech and speech-to-text software. If we get my PowerPoint moving, here we go. And a little bit about accessibility and what makes a document accessible to be able to use those kinds of tools. I'm going to focus mostly on the free tools that are available today, and lots of them within the Microsoft products, because I thought that would be most useful for everyone. And I just want to explain these little pictures here. So the first one is the kind of pink jelly bean one that is looking a bit overwhelmed and a bit like things are a bit too much. I feel like a lot of our students come in and this is kind of how they're feeling. They're feeling a bit, daunted, especially those with neurodivergencies or learning difficulties. And what we're aiming for is to help them through the use of technology, in this case, to, achieve their goals and feel like they're really successful students. So that's the little bee with the graduation cap. Just to explain for anyone who's a little bit confused by text-to-speech and speech-to-text, it can be a bit of a mouthful. Text-to-speech is generally kind of help with reading things, and speech-to-text is help with writing things. So, of course, we couldn't go past mentioning the universal design for learning, and assistive technology really is built into these guidelines. Mostly I'm going to talk about the kind of access today, but it does sort of filter down through the other ones as well. With access, you've got the kind of choice and autonomy for the students. So when the student's using these technologies, they're able to do things for themselves versus having like a reader-writer where someone else is doing things, or a note taker where someone else is taking notes for them. And also to minimize threats. So sometimes actually reading and writing can seem like a threat for students, particularly for those that might have dyslexia or something like that. It can be quite daunting. So using assistive technology can really help with that. And then we're talking about text-to-speech and speech-to-text. So we're talking about turning visual information into an auditory input and kind of having those alternatives. And of course, we're actually physically using the assistive technology to do these things. So that's kind of how it's relevant to that physical option as well. So today I'm going to talk about these different software. Like I said, mostly based off Microsoft, because a lot of institutions will provide that for their students. That's not to say that Mac and Chromebooks don't have these softwares as well. They do. Dictation, transcribe, immersive reader, and read aloud, they might be things that people are familiar with. And if not, hopefully you'll learn something new. And Goblin Tools is a slightly different take. And Helperbird is it's free browser extension, but it also does have a paid option as well. and yeah, Google voice typing as well. So yeah, before I start sounding like a walking billboard for Microsoft products, I just wanted to flag that they do have all of this information on their website, and you can actually search the different tools by the things that you might be looking to support a particular student with. So, you know, vision, hearing, neurodiversity, all of those kinds of things. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. So first of all, I'm going to talk about speech to text. So like I said, it's help with writing. It's might also be called dictation, and there's a few different tools that you can use. First of all, we're going to look at Microsoft dictation, and I've actually done up some little videos for you all. So hopefully these are a succinct kind of way of demonstrating and showing you how to use the tool.
To use Microsoft dictation, first, open a Word document. Click the microphone icon in the top right corner. The sound indicates the microphone is switched on and is listening.
This is an example of Microsoft dictation. It uses automatic punctuation when you have it turned on in the settings.
Click the blue microphone to stop recording. The sound indicates the microphone is turned off. Click the settings cog to adjust the language, microphone settings, auto punctuation, and to filter sensitive phrases. Click Save to keep your changes.
Yep, so that's short and sweet with Microsoft dictation there. Next up, we've got Google voice typing. So again, a similar kind of feature just built into Google Docs instead of into the Microsoft products. In comparison between the two, I personally prefer the Microsoft one. I find it's just slightly more accurate for me personally. These things can change though with different accents. And I should mention that also these software are improving all the time, particularly now with AI training and that kind of thing. So they're just going to get better and better. And often the more that you use them, the better they are at understanding your particular way of speech. Or sometimes you do need to kind of learn to talk a certain way for them to understand you. It is a robot after all, so you know, sometimes there is that learning curve for people. Yeah, I'll just play the video now.
To use Google Voice Typing, first navigate to Google Docs. With the Google Doc open, click on Tools, then Voice Typing. Or use the keyboard shortcut, Ctrl-Shift-S. Select your language. Click the microphone to begin.
This is an example of Google voice typing. That one's really short. Yeah, I didn't want to do a big kind of comparison because everyone can go away and have a fiddle and see how it works for you personally and your particular accent. But yeah, that's just really quickly how you would go through and use those two. The next one that I want to touch on is called Microsoft Transcribe. So it's slightly different in that it's not direct dictation in that sense. Some places might be using software like Glean or Otter AI to kind of take notes and yeah, for students to take notes and record their classes. This is kind of Microsoft's version of that. It's yeah, free, available in the Microsoft 365 products. With these dictation softwares, you do need a connection to the internet for them to work. And yeah, I'll show you how this one works.
Microsoft Transcribe is found underneath the dictation microphone icon by using the drop-down arrow. You can easily start recording from your device.
Once you've clicked Start Recording, your computer will be listening to everything that is said, and it will transcribe it for you after you've finished the recording. To indicate you have finished, press Save and Transcribe now.
You can add the transcription to your document. Choose to differentiate between speakers and include timestamps. Your document will then have a link to the audio file and the transcription.
Yeah, so hopefully you might have noticed a little thing that came up that said it was saving it to my OneDrive, just in that bottom right-hand corner there. So that's where the audio file is saved, and you can go there and discover it. Also, you can see on the right-hand side there that there's the option to play back that file immediately, and you've got the transcript there. Unfortunately, it was just me when I was doing the little demo, so I've only got one speaker, but it will differentiate between different voices there as well and record that for you. Yeah, that's my little speech to text kind of section. So maybe, Tanya, are there any questions about those particular tools that came up?
Yeah, there is one here from Ange, and she's saying, I know you'll probably get to this, but mentioning it now before I forget, are these tools using AI? I'm thinking of students' work being picked up by Turnitin AI detectors. Actually, that's a very good question, Ange.
Yes, yeah, great question. So the ones that I've just demonstrated here with dictation, you can see that it's from my own voice, that's what it's typing down. So that wouldn't be picked up in a AI detector. It's purely the student's words and their voice. Any kind of editing that you do to it afterwards might potentially be picked up, but yeah, it's, as you could sort of see, it was word for word from what I was saying into the computer. So it's not using generative AI in that sense. Yeah, some of the tools that I'll talk about later, they are more encroaching on that little space. So yeah, thank you for that question. I wanted to try and avoid the generative AI stuff as much as possible, because I know it is quite controversial, and we had a really great presentation from was it Clara Kennedy in another session. So yeah, I want to try and avoid that little controversial conversation at the moment.
So I've got a question, just a very simple one, but it mightn't be easy to answer, which is, of those tools, have you found that students kind of have usefulness for one specific tool over another?
That's a really good question. I think it really depends on the student themselves and what they're looking for. Some students really love a dictation feature because they find it really easy to talk about what they're thinking, and if they had to do a presentation for their assignment instead of an essay, they'd be amazing at it. And this is a way to kind of cross that bridge a little bit for them, because they can still talk into the computer, and it gives them a really good starting point as well. Some students really like to use that as a starting point for their essays. So, some people have difficulties with fear of that blank page, and, not knowing what to write, and putting your thoughts out onto paper like that can, in a dictation sort of way, can really help that, because then you've got something that you can see that you can start to move around and edit. Yeah.
Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, no worries.
No more questions at the moment.
No more questions? Cool. So the next little section is about text to speech. So we're talking about help with reading. You might find tools that are called Read Aloud. There are a bunch of different ones that are out there on the web, different browser extensions and things. Yeah, I'll go through mostly the Microsoft ones because they're really easily accessible. They don't take too much extra installation. And I'll also mention another one called Helperbird, which is one that I really like to use. So when we're talking about Microsoft Edge, so we've got Read Aloud and also Immersive Reader. Sometimes it might get a little bit confusing. They are different tools, but Immersive Reader does use Read Aloud in it. So that's where it can be a little bit confusing sometimes. Both of these tools are actually built into Microsoft Edge. So they just pop up in your little toolbar up the top there. Depending on what web page you're on, the Read Aloud should be there pretty much all the time, and then Immersive Reader will pop up when you've got like an article or something that's got a lot of text in it. So I'll start off with Read Aloud. So again, looking for that particular icon, it might sort of change its location sometimes depending on what you've opened, but usually on the web page it's you're looking for that icon. Alrighty.
Using Microsoft Edge browser, the Read Aloud function is available to read out text.
Assistive technology. Assistive technology available at Unitec and open source software. Home. Software available.
To choose what is read out, highlight the text first.
What is assistive technology? Assistive technology, AT, is specialized equipment and technology that students with additional learning requirements use in class and in the home environment to increase or improve their ability to engage and learn.
Use the arrows to skip forward.
We have a range. Who can apply for assistive technology?
Click the pause button to stop speech. Use the left arrow to skip backwards.
Technology. Who can apply? Who can apply? We have a range of software. What equipment? Assistive technology.
Click the Read Aloud icon to close the toolbar.
Yeah, so that's Read Aloud. As I said, there's more information on the Microsoft website. This also works with PDFs, so you can actually open a PDF in Microsoft Edge. Usually if you right-click it and go Open With, there's the option for Microsoft Edge there, and you can use Read Aloud in the, for the PDF. And there's also the keyboard shortcut there to start and stop Read Aloud, which is Control, Shift, and U. So comparing that to Immersive Reader is actually on quite a few different Microsoft apps, including Word and OneNote, as well as Edge. And yeah, it'll look a little bit different depending on which version of it you're using. So it can be good to just familiarize yourself with how to find it and where it is on that particular bit of software that you're using, whether it's Edge or Word. The demonstration that I've got coming up is just in the Word desktop app, because I think that's what most people tend to use. But yeah, you can get it in lots of different places.
To use Immersive Reader, open a document in Microsoft Word. Click the View tab in the ribbon bar. Then click the Immersive Reader icon. From here you can adjust the column width. Very narrow. Narrow. Moderate. Or wide. Next, choose the background color. Try out the different options until you find one that makes the text easier to read. Next, try out the line focus. You can focus on a single line, 3 lines, or 5 lines. The focus will move down the page as you listen to the text. You can also increase the text spacing and break words into syllables. To begin listening, make sure your cursor is at the start of the document, then click Read Aloud.
Alice in Wonderland. Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister.
Use the settings cog to adjust the speed or change the voice.
She had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her.
Click pause to stop the speech. Once finished, choose Close Immersive Reader. You can go back to Immersive Reader at any time. Click View, then Immersive Reader. Change your settings as desired. Immersive Reader will remember your settings and will read from wherever your cursor is.
Huh? There was nothing so very remarkable in that.
All of this and more is available in Word Online.
So yeah, I said Word Online at the end there, but in all those other apps as well that I mentioned before. Yeah, that kind of concludes this little section. Tanya, are there any questions? You're muted.
Really good. Not so much questions, but maybe just some comments. Oh, actually, there is one from Ange. Do you need to do this every time with the immersive reader, or can you save these as settings? Actually, I think the last part of that did tell us that it could be saved, couldn't it?
Yeah, so it should remember the settings that you've got set up. It's not like the best at doing it. It does sometimes. I think I've, set it up and then I go into it again and it's a totally different color. So that is a little bit frustrating sometimes. But when you're going in and out of it from the same open document, it should save those settings. It's more when you're changing documents that it might refresh. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts about that?
No other questions.
Cool.
Josta says, in getting started, I have used free writing, but now also show the alternative free thinking with dictate. Oh, that's interesting.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, as I said, I did want to when these slides get shared, I just did want to link to some of the other features. There are some really good ones in Mac and in Chrome as well. I won't talk too much about that. I did want to mention about accessible materials. So obviously this technology is really great, but it only works if the material that you're using it on is accessible for students and for the software. So I kind of put this picture of rock climbing in because I thought it's quite it can be like that sometimes when you think, great, I've got a document, particularly a PDF, and then you realize, oh, it's not actually accessible. I can't use all of these tools. And so then it makes it really kind of difficult to climb, and you might feel like you're trying to do the work without the support system, like this talented person is doing here. So the importance of having accessible documents is huge when you're using this kind of software. I've put down some really kind of quick and dirty little tips. There is some really great guidelines that are put out by the Round Table Print Disability Guidelines, and there's some information also on the MSD website. And of course, we've got the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines as well for all of that, those that want to get really deep dive into that kind of thing. But yeah, just some of the things that are important are to use some sort of structure with structured headings so that the page is really easily navigated. And generally sans serif fonts are preferred, so things like Arial, Calibri, or perhaps what I've called here an accessible font, like a dyslexia-friendly font or something like that. Left align the text, because if you put it in the middle, the paragraphs can be a bit difficult to read. And then also things about captions and audio descriptions and describing an image. So if you've got a really great diagram, you want to also include that as a written information in the text. So we can use all of these cues to piece together the information. And then for students that say perhaps have a hearing impairment or hard of hearing or blind or low vision, then they're not missing out on any of the information either. But what I really want to talk about is about PDFs, because that seems to be the sticking point for a lot of students and lecturers. So the main thing about a PDF is that if you have scanned it in, it comes up as an image, which is not accessible. So you want to make sure that it goes through some kind of optical character recognition software, which is often shortened to OCR software, so that the text then becomes accessible. So what we're looking at is I've put in a little free link to Adobe's function. You can actually do this on the web, and I think there's some versions of it in the app as well. But a really, really quick check, if you're, have like 2 minutes to do it, is to see, can you actually select the text in the PDF? Does your text-to-speech tool work? So can you use read aloud, or is it just kind of trying to load and it's not going anywhere? And if it does work, if it is reading out, is it actually reading out things as you would expect to read it visually, or is it kind of jumping from maybe the footer at the bottom and then going to the top? And if there's different columns in the page, is it reading across the columns or is it reading down the columns? Those things are all really important. So if you put your PDF through OCR software, it doesn't mean that it's magically fully accessible, but it's a really, really great place to start. So I've got a little demo now of the Adobe one that you can use online, and I will, all these links and stuff actually, I will put in the chat once we're finished. I do have them there to share with everyone as well. So I'll play this for you now.
Use Adobe Online to OCR a PDF for free. Upload your scanned PDF file. Then sign into your free Adobe account when prompted. Create an account if you don't have one already. Once the page has loaded, download your new more accessible PDF. Your PDF will be in your Downloads folder.
Yeah, so it really literally takes about 5 minutes once you've got it all set up. And I just want to demonstrate what it's like before and after as well. So
Before OCR, can't select text. After OCR, can select text.
hopefully you can see the difference there. It's that you can actually select the text in the second one, and you can do it line by line rather than just that big square that came up at the start. It's might be something that's small to notice, but it's really, really important when you're trying to use these text-to-speech tools. And yeah, it's great that we can now, technology's caught up to us, that we can do it really quickly and yeah, put it through Adobe to make it accessible. So I want to talk now about a little bit about HelperBird. HelperBird is actually a browser extension that was designed by a guy called Robert. He's dyslexic himself, and he's made lots of tools in HelperBird to help with those kinds of challenges. I won't go through and show you all of those challenges tools today, but I really wanted to focus on the PDF reader. With the PDFs, of course, like I said before, you can open them up in Microsoft Edge and do them that way, but this is also an alternative to use HelperBird, and for those that are using Chrome or Safari browsers, this will work on that as well. The PDF reader is included in the free version of HelperBird, so that's really awesome.
HelperBird is a browser extension with many useful tools. Let's look at the PDF reader. Click to open PDF and choose a file. You can press play to begin listening to the document from the start. There may be some mistakes depending on the quality of the document.
It is with great pleasure ~E&DH humility that we publish this paper. The paper was first presented in Adelaide in September 1986. The presentation, which involved 9 people, followed traditional Maori protocol.
Press stop when desired. Alternatively, you can select the text and click on the text-to-speech button. You will open a reading pane, which will show you the text you have selected. Any reading mistakes will also show up here.
The paper was first presented in Adelaide in September 1986. The presentation, which involved 9 people, followed traditional Maori protocol, illustrating in practice the dynamic quality of the concepts contained within the paper and the title. This paper is dedicated to John Wilson, charge nurse, Whai Ora, Tokanui Hospital, who was tragically killed in a motor vehicle accident, the 6th.
If using this window, you will need to select and delete the text to clear it. Navigate to another page easily, using the page numbers. Select the text and click play.
Although no writings existed, they read the cosmos, the tides, the seasons, the days and nights, the months, the year and the environment with flora and fauna.
For more information, visit helperbird.com. HelperBird is available for all major browsers.
Yep, so as I said, you can download it for Chrome, Safari, Edge, and Firefox there. And yeah, it's really, really useful for reading PDFs. There's also, like I said, there's might be little mistakes sometimes with the OCR software. That's not come from HelperBird itself, that's come from that process of converting the image into printed text, and it's to do with the way that the program recognizes the different characters. The clearer scan that you have, the better that will happen, but sometimes different fonts and things like that can really confuse what it's trying to say. So yeah, it really depends on that kind of thing with the end result. Yeah, are there any questions about that at all?
There's a few. I've asked 2.
Yes.
I've asked 2, but I'm really interested. So I'm not sure that all tutors or lecturers know about this need for us to OCR a PDF file. So do you think that this is really, really critical, given that the majority of us do put our resources into PDF? And is there any kind of, I suppose, advert or something like this, or instruction that shows them the clear way to do this?
Yeah, great question. I think it is really important for lecturers and tutors to know, and I think a lot of them don't. And it's yeah, it's really frustrating for students that do use these kinds of software that, you know, come across things that are just inaccessible for them. I would love for more and more lecturers and tutors to know about this and to be using it. I'm campaigning on my end, you know, this is partly why I've included it in this little talk today. Yeah, there are other YouTube videos and stuff that you can Google to figure out how to do it, but it's not something that's really clear in a lot of places. Luckily, it used to be that the technology wasn't kind of up to scratch in terms of that sort of thing, and you'd need to go through and do a lot of it manually. But these days the technology is really great, so it's not always perfect, like I said, but it's 100 times better than it was. So just spread the word.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I'll bring to our accessibility department. We've got such a small department, and unfortunately I don't know too much about what they've already done, but it will be something that I'll bring up. A second question is, with these text-to-speech tools, are there tools that have the ability to read te reo papers, te reo Māori?
That is the tricky thing at the moment. There's not a really great text-to-speech tool that is really good at te reo in my experience. I know it is being thought about and it is being worked on. I'm not entirely sure what the kind of problem is with it, but it's not great, unfortunately.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to just test the waters to see if there's anything out there, given that quite a number of our students are coming from kura kaupapa Māori schools entering into tertiary studies, and if some of them have got these difficulties, they're used to this being able to be spoken to them in te reo Māori. But that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, I do know on the immersive reader, I believe that there's a Māori translation in there. So part of the immersive reader feature is that you can click on a word and it will give an example of how that word's pronounced. And I know that they have included Māori in the languages there. So I believe that can read it out there, but it's not speaking it myself. I haven't been able to double check the pronunciation and all of those sorts of things. But I would love to.
That's all good, Emma. Thank you. Josta has given a comment. It says it has a ChatGPT summarizer. Is this in the paid version? I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so in the paid version there are like a ChatGPT like summarizer tool. There's also some tools where you can highlight parts of the text and save them as notes with a link that takes you back to that particular page. So Helperbird has some really great features. The PDF one that I've shown you just now is not generative AI, but some of the other features there definitely do use those kind of tools.
Same for the Microsoft Accessibility Checker for slides, etc. That's a question from Josta.
That was in response to checking PDF tools, but for this one, checking your slides for accessibility. Thanks, Tanya.
Yes. Yeah, so Microsoft do have some really great tools to check accessibility for slides and for emails and those sorts of things. So it will come up and say, hey, you need to include alt text and all of that kind of thing. I haven't seen one that goes through your well, actually, Adobe do have one that does help you kind of step through those those steps in checking the accessibility for your PDF as well. Yeah.
And a final question from Josta. Can you select 2 language options in reading text? I think that came as a result of your example, which had both English and Māori words.
Yes. So in the immersive reader, it can be written in English, and you can have the option to translate it into a second language. So it does have that feature built into it there with the online version. But in terms of if it's written in Spanish and in English or something like that. I think you have to choose a priority kind of language. I'm not sure that it is good enough to do the change. Cool. So the last little one that I want to talk about is Goblin Tools. I'm not sure if people have heard of this or not. Goblin Tools is sort of stepping away a little bit from the text-to-speech stuff and more thinking about how a student might organize themselves. It's particularly really great for students with neurodiversities and that need tasks kind of broken down and things like that. I'll play it for you.
Goblin Tools is free to use and easily accessible through your browser. First, let's look at the compiler tool, where you can turn a brain dump of thoughts into a list of tasks. Choose to type, or use the microphone to speak your thoughts. On first use, click Allow to use the microphone.
I need to do my reading for biology lecture tomorrow. Chemistry study group at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. I need to get my gear ready for the gym tomorrow. I need to submit the essay on exercise physiology before 12 o'clock tonight. I need to call mum and I need to pick a movie for Friday's movie night.
Click the microphone again to stop. Adjust any misheard words. Click Turn into Tasks. Review your task list. Then click Send Result to the Magic To-Do list. Click Go See to take you to the Magic To-Do list. Here, the Magic To-Do list has all of the tasks from your brain dump. You can break these tasks down even further if you need to. First, choose how much you want them broken down, on the chili scale. Then, click the blue magic wand to break down the task. AI will generate a list of subtasks, so you can see the steps needed to do the initial task. You can clear all of the subtasks by hovering your mouse over the drop-down menu, then clicking on Clear Subtasks. You can also use the Edit button if you need to edit a task or subtask. Click the magic wand to break down another task. Use the Estimate button to estimate how much time it might take to do the task. The estimates may vary and may be different from the actual time needed to complete a task. These can also be edited if needed. Add on new tasks by typing or using the microphone. Click the magic wand to break down the task. Subtasks can be broken down further by clicking on the magic wand next to the subtask. Each subtask is AI generated, so results will vary. Usually the information is still useful, as you might think about other steps you need to do instead. When completed, tasks can be checked off. The bottom menu allows you to clear all completed tasks, or to clear the entire list.
Yep, so they're two of the really great tools in Goblin Tools, and there's one more I want to show you that's called the Professor. There are other tools included in there, but yeah, we don't have time for those.
The Professor tool is useful for understanding concepts. Type or use the microphone to enter your information.
Explain particle physics to me like I'm 5.
Click Explain to generate an explanation and an example. These are AI generated, so results may vary. Read through the results. You can also use the Chile scale to adjust how much information is provided.
Yeah, so Goblin Tools is totally free to use online. It's just run from your browser. You can get an app, which I think is about $2. And yeah, it's really, really great. It is generative AI, so you do need to keep that in mind when you're recommending it to students. But it is, yeah, really, really great. I think we've got maybe a little bit of time for questions.
All right. Coming back to the questions, actually, there's some really good comments coming back saying this is good, this is awesome, great to use in time management, support lessons. A question I've got is, when you clear the list from the to-do list, does the list save elsewhere as completed for evidence purposes, or do we know?
No, it doesn't. It's just all on that website, so it's
Because
not
it's on that web
saved
page, eh?
anywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth asked the question, what is the name of the first Goblin tool? Was
The
that
the very first one is called the compiler, and then to the magic to-do list.
Oh. And the final question, I think Angie's going to finish after me. How much of the information, being a generative AI, is correct versus hallucinated? And is it something that we would recommend? Because as an example, you just said, explain particle physics to me like I'm 5. I can imagine that our students will ask the question, but these are creative tools, aren't they? They're tools that really have a different purpose. They're not there actually to go along and give us data, correct data all the time. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, generative AI is always a tricky one. The hallucinations is about as much hallucination that you're going to get with these models at the moment. It is based on things like ChatGPT and those sorts of models. So yeah, about the average that you're getting at the moment. I'm not sure what the figure is off the top of my head. And yeah, like you say, you want to be careful about you want to be using these tools for greater understanding of a topic, and to have things broken down in a way that maybe the tutor maybe doesn't have time for. But yeah, when it comes to writing essays and doing assignments and that sort of thing, you don't want to be like copy pasting from here. Definitely not.
Angie said, I'm concerned that our students will get caught in an AI likelihood detection report with tools that we are recommending. Do you have any comments?
That's a whole nother discussion. I think that's a really, really tricky topic. It's I think as long as we're teaching the students to use the tools in a way that is acceptable for what the lecturer wants and what their institution wants, you've got to err on the side of caution with these tools, I think, and explain to the students that you can use this for your brainstorming. You can use it, to help your understanding. But when it comes to doing your homework or writing your essays, you don't want to be using these kinds of tools.
Yeah.
In that kind of black and white sort of scenario. Yeah, it's a really difficult topic.
Yeah.
And it's a whole presentation in and of itself, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
So just to quickly summarize, we want to be going from feeling overwhelmed to using maybe one or two of these tools to really help the students be successful in their own right. And yeah, there's lots of different options depending on what their needs are. That's me. You can feel free to email me if you have any questions or anything. But yeah, just thanks everyone for listening, and yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was really lovely to come and have a chat.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. That was a brilliant presentation for everybody. And just to remind everyone, this has been recorded. Emma's just going to turn the off button now.
Yes.
To stop the recording. Do you have time, just in case